Okay, so what's up everybody? What's up Unrested fans? It's a long time no JFAQ. So I thought today, let's go back to the original formula. Let's answer some JFAQ questions. Well, first of all, I did this a little bit different this time. I actually wrote a comment on my JFAQ Facebook site and just told people, ask some questions for the next one, and just to hear, there's a couple things, what did I say exactly that I really don't want to hear because I'm so sick of the same question. Do I need a degree to work in Japan? Please don't ask that. How much is an apartment? Because apartment prices are so different everywhere in Japan, that's a stupid question to ask. And what jobs can I work instead of being an English teacher? If you're really interested in that, you'll research it yourself. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through, I'm looking at my Facebook right now on my iPhone. I'm just going to go through and look at some of these questions. Some were great, some were completely stupid, some were, let's just say, a little bit out of the realm of my lifestyle, and some were really quite good. And I'd like to start with my friend Anthony's question. Anthony asks, how do you deal with the reality that being an ALT can be a lonely job? Well, Anthony actually lives here in Japan. He is an ALT. I don't want to give away a lot more information than that because I don't know how much he's comfortable with me giving away. And this is a very good question because being an ALT is actually a very lonely job. How do you deal with the loneliness? Well, as I've said before, when I worked that job, I felt it was really important that you have a hobby that you love because, number one, it is a lonely job in the sense that you are the only gaijin at the school. Number two, not many people can actually speak English there, so if you can't speak any Japanese yet, you're brand new to Japan, you're probably not going to be communicating much with anybody. Yeah, you are with the English teachers, but just because you're with English teachers in Japan doesn't mean those English teachers can actually speak English. And if you haven't learned that by now from my videos, then you haven't really watched many of them. Like I just said, you need to have a hobby. You need to have something you can make the day fly by with because it's really not a job that you'll ever be able to communicate or converse with people who work at the school. Number one, because they are super busy. Number two, because they're usually teaching when you have a break, which is quite often because you only teach 3 to 4 classes a day during an 8-hour day. And you need something that's going to fill that time. I used to bring books, I used to bring artwork. That filled a lot of my time. I would suggest taking up a new hobby that you can really get enraptured in and that is mobile in the sense that you can pack it up and take it with you. Other than that, there's not really a lot else you can do. Even when I could speak, I don't want to say perfect Japanese because my Japanese still isn't perfect, but even when I could finally speak Japanese, it still was a lonely job. So it's not you, it's the job. What type of Japanese girls should you steer clear of? What type of Japanese girls should you steer clear of? Well, I mean, I'd like to say that the same type of craziness in both men and females should be avoided in any country. You know, obviously people who are too clingy have untreated mental problems, have a very checkered past that they haven't dealt with. Kind of the same thing goes for girls in Japan, I mean, and boys too for that matter. I would say, okay, here's one kind of unique situation in Japan. There's a lot of girls here who are into the whole, the man makes all the money and I just use the money type situation. They marry for money. They're looking for someone who is the breadwinner and they're set up to do pretty much, they want to be a housewife and stay at home. You know, maybe some guys are really up for that. Maybe that's really their cup of tea. If that's not yours, make sure that you get to know that both people have the same living situation in mind. I've had many a friend who've gotten married here to a woman who they thought would also be working a career like them, and later found out that woman decided she was only going to be a housewife like some traditional Japanese people do. Nothing wrong with being a housewife, but some of these people also found out that their supposed want to be a housewife really meant they stay at home all day and don't really do anything, don't cook, don't clean, don't, you know, Which, you know, I see no problem with girls who want to be a housewife and men who want women who are going to be a housewife. If that's what you want, you know, whatever floats your boat, that's fine. But if the guy is going to work all day and the woman is going to stay at home and not do the duties of a housewife, then really she should possibly take up a career. Personally, I am of the belief that a woman should have a career just as much as a man, and even more so. As you probably know with my situation, my wife has a much better career than myself, and, you know, I'm very proud of her for that. I do a lot of the housewife type things here. I take care of the laundry, I take care of the kids, I do some of the cooking, I definitely do the cleaning. I am hardcore on cleaning. Drinking and riding a bicycle, is that bad in Japan? Yes, that's actually illegal. Being inebriated too while riding a bicycle is illegal. You can be arrested for that. That is considered DUI, so don't do it. What other nonsense made-up stories have you made? Oh, what other nonsense made-up stories have made you ticked off, like the eyeball licking story? Okay, some of you have heard in the news recently that there's a new fetish in Japan of eyeball licking, and that is total BS. There's no proof behind that. If there is some kind of small subculture that really does enjoy eyeball licking, that's so super minute and such a microcosm in Japan that it's not a big deal. But something I really hate about the media, foreign media, not Japanese media, is them discovering very small niches of societies and saying that all of Japan does it. Like, you may have seen in the past, Japanese people love to put silicone donuts in their heads for a crazy fashion style. Nobody does that. I've never seen that. I even knew body mod people who were really into all different types of crazy stuff, and they were just like, that's totally stupid, we don't do that, we've never heard of that. Okay. Let's take a look at some of our next questions. Some of these I'm going to skip over because, like I said, there's ones I've answered so many times it's stupid for me to try and answer it again. Can you do a video about Kaden? That would be cool. I don't know if you're into that at all. I don't know what Kaden is. Do you mean K-On? I know K-On, the anime. What are some of the best stores to buy retro games at? I've heard Super Potato and Akihabara. That is huge, but could you name some others? Actually, no, I couldn't, because Super Potato is the best one in Osaka, too. Super Potato is a chain. It is the best and cheapest retro game store in all of Japan, all over Japan. If you don't like shopping there and you want to find something else, I'm sure there's super small mom and pop shops that do it, but you're going to get your best deals at Super Potato. Do you know anything about Japan and its feelings toward LGBT people? That's, I'm guessing, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. And same-sex marriage, is it legal in Japan? As far as I know, same-sex marriage as of now is legal if the person you are marrying has the law of it being legal in their country. So, for instance, France, it's legal to get married, same-sex couples get married. You would be able to marry a French person of the same sex in Japan, and it would be a legitimate wedding and marriage, and you would be seen as a couple. I heard a story of two women who got married at Tokyo Disneyland. Tokyo Disneyland does now do gay marriage ceremonies. So they'll do this ceremony, but just because you're married at Disneyland doesn't, I guess, officiate or make it a ward office recorded wedding. I myself am totally for gay marriage. If you are wondering what my viewpoint is on it, I'm 100% open to that idea. I have many gay friends here in Japan. You'd be surprised how many gay gaijin come to Japan. There are, I work with 2 right now in the job that I'm in. Both are gaijin, and we make up 1% of the population, and 2 of them are gay there. My job before this, there was 1. 2 jobs before this, my boss was gay. So I guess a lot of gay people come here. I'm totally okay with that. It really doesn't bother me. I went to art school. I've got plenty of gay friends. How are the movie theaters in Japan? The movie theaters in Japan are expensive. You're looking at about $18 per movie, and they're about the same as they would be in America. I mean, they're pretty darn big, and they have stadium seating. If the movies are dubbed and not subbed, that means you're going to have to watch your favorite movie completely in Japanese, and unless you are super awesome fluent, you're not going to understand anything. A lot of my friends recently saw Iron Man 3D and were sorely disappointed because it was not actually subtitled here at all in Japan. It was completely dubbed. And I will say, I'm sorry Japan, but the voices you choose for the characters just don't match at all. Like, the dubbing is like the same 5 people over and over again, and they just don't match up well at all. It's bad. Okay, wondering if you know anything about people who moved to Japan permanently or have acquired Japanese citizenship. Is it worth it? That's from a person here on Facebook, Andy. Andy, well, that's kind of a relevant question as to where you're coming from. I do know people who have moved here permanently. You don't have to have citizenship to live here permanently. For example, I have a permanent resident visa. I'm not a citizen of Japan, but I'm a permanent resident visa holder. That means I never have to renew my visa anymore. I would highly suggest that over changing your citizenship to Japanese, unless you absolutely want to get away from your country. Like, if you're coming here from North Korea and you get citizenship, yeah, become Japanese. If you're coming here from America, Canada, New Zealand, you know, any Western English-speaking country, I would say keep your citizenship and keep your permanent resident visa. I don't see why you would want to relinquish your citizenship of your, you know, motherland to become a Japanese citizen. There's really no pluses or bonuses aside from the fact that you get a little bit more pension money and you get to vote, which is totally pointless in Japan. Sorry, it's true. What about how do I teach English in Japan? Wow, you totally did not listen to anything. Rick says, how do I teach English in Japan? You have watched 0 videos of mine. And can you teach me Japanese? No, that's not what JFAQ's about. Japanese frequently asked questions. It's not, I teach you Japanese, go watch Victor's channel. I'm not sure if this is covered or not, but is it worth it to get a license in Japan? That's relevant. I mean, how far do you have to go? If you live in Hiroshima, like one of my friends, yes, get a license because you have to drive everywhere and there's not a lot of trains. If you live in Okinawa, definitely get a license because all they have is like a monorail that goes to like 3 stops. If you live here in Osaka, unless you want to fight bottleneck traffic, I would say don't get a license. Use the train system. What about chefing or the bar industry? What is it like in Japan? Is it easy for a foreigner to get a job like that in Japan? Like I said, don't ask about any other jobs outside of teaching. Yes, you can get a job doing that. I've got part-time jobs myself where I do a little bit of this stuff. You can get those jobs, but you cannot get a work visa on those jobs. So you need to have a main job that is a work visa job. These will not give you a work visa. Japanese views on young New Zealanders. Their view is that they're young and from New Zealand. I mean, that's a really vague question. Their view as far as what? Like they like New Zealanders as much as they like Australians, as much as they like Americans, as much as they like Canadians. They lump us all together. It's like if Chinese and Japanese and Korean people came to America, a lot of Americans would lump them together. I'd be interested in knowing what issues you had, if any, with, as they don't teach you this in textbooks. I don't know the kanji that he wrote. He wrote some kanji here. Sorry, I cannot read many kanji. I can speak, but I learned it to speak before I learned how to read. In Osaka something. Sorry, man. Hairo says, why most Japanese people don't speak English? Because it's not really needed in a lot of the industry here. And why some of them don't like to learn English. They don't like to learn it because it's hard for them. I mean, the same reason everybody doesn't like to learn stuff. Why do you not like to learn, like, you know, quantum physics? It's hard. In your honest opinion, what would you say the advantages of living in a heavy urban area are in comparison to the advantages of living in a rural area? Well, I think it's kind of the same in every country. I mean, as far as Japan, you know, you've got convenience in the city, but you've also got high crime, you've got, you know, expensive prices, population density is ridiculous, the countryside has a lot of small-minded ideas. You're going to be probably the only white guy or whatever gaijin guy you are there, and there's a lot of backwards thinking still. It's just the same as, you know, any other conservative country area in any other country. And the plus side of that is that, you know, there's a lot of nature. What you would expect. It's beautiful, there's rice fields, there's wonderful nature. You feel like you're in the movie My Friend Totoro. I'm always saying this. Please do another manga to movie adaptation. Okay, well, that's not a question. What's the meaning of life? Haha, just kidding. Can you make a tutorial on how to eat rice with chopsticks? Okay, he's definitely joking. How do you open a sexually oriented business in Japan without having to deal with the Yakuza? Oh, here's how you do that. You totally don't, because you would get arrested because you're gaijin. It's impossible. If not possible, then how do you set up the meeting? Wait, you mean like to meet a prostitute? Dude, I've never done that, so I don't know. Why are you asking me this? You don't have to do a whole video on this, maybe a quick answer. What Western food is in demand in Japan as a restaurant? Spaghetti. For real, I'm not joking. What are expats screaming for and Japanese might really enjoy? Oh, good pizza. Like if you could open a good pizza restaurant, the pizza in Japan is crap. Is there many Mexican food joints around? There's like 2 in my area and both suck. And Mexican people do work there, but sorry, you must be like the worst Mexican cooks in the world. You said in a previous video that they don't have stick deodorant in Japan. Is there other stuff we might want to bring? Maybe you want to bring your own toothpaste, because some of the toothpaste here doesn't have fluoride. I'm also worried for suitcase packing to Japan. Well, that's interesting. How do you deal with having too much stuff to bring when staying there for 2 years? Just bring one suitcase. Like, buy some stuff when you get here. It's probably cheaper to buy new things than shipping it, right? Yes, definitely. Only clothing will take up space in my suitcase, I bet. God damn it, I'm worried. Don't worry too much. I'm serious. Bring enough clothes for 1 week, and then don't bring anything more than that. You're gonna buy clothes here. They have great fashion. Unless you're like a huge behemoth, in which case, sorry. I didn't want to make fun of any behemoth people. Talk about places in Japan. Where can't you go if you have a tattoo? Wow, you've never watched my videos either, because I've done so many videos on tattoos. Where can't you go? You can't go to spa chains such as Spa World that are onsens. That means, you know, hot springs. You can't go to those. You can go to ryokan, which is like a typical traditional Japanese onsen and hotel. You can go to those. And you don't even have to go to a private onsen inside of those. Like, you don't need to get the room with an onsen. If you've paid for your hotel, you can use the onsen. They've never given me any trouble. I've been to like 9 different ryokans, and my pronunciation on that was horrible, so sorry. Can you go to a Japanese water park? That's a good question. I only know of one Japanese water park in Osaka, and that's the Hello Kitty water park, and I'm not joking, that's a real place. And I've never tried to go there. I know if you try to go to any pools in a gym, they'll make you wear, most times, a rash guard around your tattoos, which is totally ridiculous. For some reason, they have this concept that, like, your ink is coming off of your arms and polluting the pool or something. I think that's what they really believe. Maybe, maybe there's something else behind it I don't know about. The fact that they discriminate against anyone who has a tattoo is going back to the roots of the Yakuza, yes, but it's totally ridiculous for gaijin, as there's no such thing as white gaijin or black gaijin or Mexican, Latino gaijin with all kinds of Yakuza ties, because that doesn't exist in Japan. So they're being idiots. The establishment is being idiots if they really don't let you use stuff because of that. But it still happens. Where else can't you have tattoos? Don't wear your tattoos at your job. Hide your tattoos at your job. If you want to get a job in Japan, hide your tattoos. Hide your tattoos when you want people to be comfortable. Just out of respect, okay? Recommendations for places to visit in Osaka. I've done that. Maybe a JFAQ about Osaka. I've done that. Guidebooks already exist, but can you tell us your favorite restaurants? Well, I just did. Let's take another look. Talk about tattoos in Japan. I just did that. Okay. Good questions, you guys. Some not so good. Some I'm really questioning your moral ethics, but that's okay, you know. To each their own, to each their own. I'm not too picky and I'm not too kibishi or majime with the questions that I get. Until next time, I'm Unrested. I hope I've answered everything that you've asked today on Facebook. I would like to continue this trend if you guys do like the way I did this today. It's very casual, very relaxed, and laid back. I don't have to write anything up or do any research because most of the questions you ask I already know. Until next time, I'm Unrested. This is JFAQ. Have a good one.